got angry. She wanted to criticize him, but he was already far away, which made her angrier. She was beautiful, so it wasn't often that men rejected her. Even in the company, she was admired and pursued by Master Jordan also arrived. Calvin Driscoll, the president of UCLA, followed shortly afterwards. Ariana felt a little uneasy when she saw him. She was always absent from classes, and now the president caught her missing class once again, so she felt slightly guilty. Nevertheless, she still needed to greet him respectfully. "Welcome, President Driscoll," she said. "Well, we're not in school now. You don't need to call me president. Just call me Calvin," he insisted. He didn't care whether Ariana was absent from her classes, because he was already used to it. In addition, it was Master Ortiz's birthday today. If Ariana didn't come, it would be wrong. "Okay, Calvin." Ariana listened to him and greeted him politely, so Calvin was satisfied. After that, the elders went to play chess and drink tea in Master Ortiz's study. Carlos and Marco would stay to chat with Eve, and the younger people would go hang out in the backyard. So far, the only young guest was Roberta, and Ariana and Sophia were willing to chat with her, but they wanted to give Kenny a chance to be alone with her, so they purposefully gave them some privacy. As usual, Carlotta hid in her bedroom the entire time because she didn't want to see Ariana and the others, even though she knew that Ariana had saved her grandfather and father, so she had less hostility towards her now. They used to be bitter enemies. It was hard to get over the unpleasant experiences, and Carlotta didn't know how to get along with Ariana peacefully. Therefore, she decided to stay away and only go down later. It was early April, and it was a sunny day, so it gradually got very warm outside. All the young people were enjoying the sunshine, drinking tea, and chatting with each other in the gazebo. Henry had never spent much time having fun with his cousins before, but now he began to enjoy himself. He started showing his emotions more, and was no longer as cold. Although he still had an intimidating expression, he didn't seem as aloof as before, and sometimes he even showed kindness. All in all, he didn't scare people as much now. Ariana, Daniel, Sophia, and Roberta were playing cards. Henry sat next to Ariana and watched her play, while Kenny sat by Roberta and gave her advice on how to play every now and then, because she wasn't very good at it. Because she was just playing for fun, Ariana wouldn't use her jade eyes. However, she still had good luck and kept winning. The losers needed to drink tea every time they lost, so the other three people were quickly filled with tea. "Ariana, you are unbelievably lucky. We've played about 20 rounds, but you've only lost twice," Sophia exclaimed. "Right, we're already full of tea now. My bladder feels like it's going to burst," Daniel complained. Roberta didn't care much, because she only lost 4 times, so she just laughed. "I know you're jealous of my good luck," Ariana teased them, beaming with satisfaction. "All right, I'm done," responded Daniel. He gave in, because he lost most of the time, and he badly needed to go to the bathroom. "Fine, we can stop now," agreed Ariana. They had played cards for a long time, and it would be more fun to do something else. When it was almost 3:00 p.m., Gerald arrived at the house, along with Amber. Although outsiders weren't invited, Amber was Gerald's girlfriend, and a close friend of Ariana, so she was welcome. After Amber arrived, she and Ariana left their boyfriends and went to chat together, along with the other girls, while the men continued to talk in the gazebo. However, Henry couldn't take his eyes off Ariana, and Gerald couldn't stand it any longer. He directly walked in front of Henry and blocked his gaze. "Henry, enough. You haven't been separated from Ariana for more than 10 minutes. You have to stare at her the entire time?" he complained. Hearing that, Henry said nothing, nor did he get mad. Daniel said instead, "Henry is deeply in love with Ariana. I never see you do the same thing to your girl. Don't you love her as much?" He wasn't picking on Gerald, but he felt a bit confused. Gerald explained right away. "What? Don't talk nonsense. We were just together, so I don't think it's necessary to look at her the entire time." He didn't want people to think that he didn't love Amber very much, since it could damage their relationship. Daniel nodded, but still put on a meaningful look, which angered Gerald. "What, don't you believe me?" asked Gerald. "I said nothing," Daniel replied, blinking innocently. Gerald was struck dumb replied. If Amber didn't invite her, she wouldn't mention it, but since Amber invited her to go, she would be happy to join them. Amber was Ariana's friend, so she was also her friend. A short while later, Joelle and Anna arrived. However, Joelle didn't come with Nathan. Nathan had a relationship with Ariana, but wasn't connected to the Ortiz family, so he wasn't invited. Once Joelle and Anna arrived, Anna complained. Oh, Amber, you came earlier than us, and you're having fun with Ariana. Ariana, why didn't you call us so we could come early too? Aren't we friends? As she said that, she covered her chest as if her heart was aching. Everyone was amused by her and didn't take it seriously. They knew it was just a joke. Ariana chuckled and replied, Are you implying that I'm a mean friend? In that case, the medicine. Her voice trailed off as she gave Anna a meaningful glance. She didn't finish, but her expression said everything. Haha, Anna laughed and immediately changed her attitude. I'm just joking. You're the most generous and the best friend in the world. It's my honor that I can be your friend. Anna fawned on Ariana. She just got precious medicine from her, so she couldn't say that she was a mean friend. At any rate, they were just joking, and no one actually got mad. Afterwards, Anna directly sat down and started to complain. On that topic, you don't know how hateful that woman is. I've never seen someone so shameless before. About 2 days ago, I went to drink in a bar with an old classmate, and the man the woman admires walked over to drink with me. We were just drinking. I didn't think too much about it, but the woman was unhappy. She came to drink with me too. It couldn't be more obvious that she was trying to embarrass me by persuading me to drink shots. I had drunk a lot of alcohol when we ate dinner earlier, so I couldn't drink as much as her. So, I challenged her to have the competition again when my stomach wasn't so full, and she agreed. She said the condition that the loser would shout that she is a bitch 3 times. We'll meet on Friday night at the same bar. However, she won't stop sending me messages every day, reminding me about the competition, as if she's afraid I'll be absent. Come on, I always keep my word, Anna vented. She was really mad. So, are you afraid you'll lose? Asked Ariana. Anna looked uneasy. She didn't want to admit it, but the fact that Sophia asked Ariana for the medicine was proof that she was worried. Just in case, I don't want to loudly call myself a bitch 3 times in public. It's humiliating. My reputation is important in high society, she admitted. She only wanted to win, and didn't care about the woman she challenged at all. Besides, it was the woman who caused her trouble first. Ariana smiled and said nothing. Okay, we've talked about me for so long. I should have asked you to introduce this beauty to us, Anna said, changing the topic. The beauty she was referring to was Roberta. This is the granddaughter of Master Ortiz's good friend, Roberta Wilkes, introduced Ariana. Nice to meet you, Miss Wilkes. I'm Anna. Anna greeted at once. Nice to meet you too, Anna. You can call me Roberta, Roberta replied politely. Hi, Roberta. I'm Joelle, Joelle added with a smile. Nice to meet you, Joelle, Roberta responded politely. After that, they continued to chat casually. After 4 o'clock p.m., more guests started arriving, one after the other. The Ortiz family's relatives, like Cynthia's family and Christina's family, showed up at this time. Collateral branches of the Ortiz family were also present. Master Ortiz had 2 brothers and 3 cousins. They were very supportive of the Ortiz family and were loyal too. One of his brothers and most outstanding children in their own families. Although they had only worked for 2 or 3 years, they were both about to receive a promotion. Mitchell had a good relationship with Kenny, and they often got together and stayed in touch, but he wasn't close to Henry. It wasn't because Henry appeared cold and difficult to get along with, but because Henry was too outstanding and could easily arouse his peers' jealousy. Ever since they were little, Henry was the most excellent student in their school. After they grew up, he was still the best kid in everyone's eyes. However, many kids hated when their parents compliment other kids, so Henry's peers started to disdain him. At the same time, he had many fans among his relatives, like Cameron and Nora. They admired him very much, but because they rarely saw each other, they weren't very close. Luckily, they still talked when they met. Cameron, Mitchell, and Nora followed their grandfathers to the Ortiz family's house. After exchanging greetings with the elders, they went out to the backyard to see the younger members of the family. They would feel more comfortable chatting with them than they would if they stayed with the old men. "Hi, Kenny," Mitchell called out when he walked outside. He only said hi to Kenny and directly ignored everyone else, but no one cared. People who were familiar with him knew his character very well, while those who didn't know him couldn't care less. On the other hand, Cameron and Nora were very nice, and they called the names of everyone they knew. "Hi, Henry, Kenny, Sophia, Daniel, Gerald, and everyone else," they called out. "Mitchell, Cameron, Nora, welcome," said Kenny. Although Mitchell had a close relationship with Kenny, in Kenny's eyes, Mitchell, Cameron, and Nora were the same. He treated them equally. If they didn't want to talk to him, he wouldn't bother them either. Daniel and Sophia greeted Cameron and Nora, and Gerald smiled at them and said hello as well. At this point, Henry introduced them to Ariana and the others. "This is Cameron, and this is Nora. Both of them are relatives," he explained. "Nice to meet you all." Ariana and the others greeted them too. When they exchanged greetings, they directly ignored Mitchell. They didn't do it on purpose, but they were unfamiliar with Mitchell, and he didn't greet them, so it wasn't necessary to greet him. "Oh, are you Henry's fiancé?" Nora asked, staring at Ariana with great interest. In fact, she was pretty sure of it. She was aware that Henry had a fiancé because her grandfather told her about it, but she found out that it was Ariana from Twitter. Now, she wasn't only a fan of Henry, but she was also a fan of Ariana. Ariana was still pretty young, but she was incredibly successful. She owned a large corporation with assets worth millions of dollars. "Yeah, I'm Henry's fiancé, Ariana," Ariana replied with a smile. Nora squealed, complimented her with great admiration in her voice. "You're my idol. You're such a young achiever." Ariana smiled and thanked her for the compliment. After hesitating for a while, Nora asked, Ariana, can we exchange numbers? Can we be friends on WeChat?" Nora wasn't talkative, especially in front of strangers, but she was different with Ariana. Ariana was her idol, and any fan would be excited to see her idol. Of course, Ariana agreed. After all, Nora was a relative of Henry's, so it was no big deal for them to keep in touch. Nora was very happy to hear that, and immediately exchanged phone numbers with Ariana. Cameron shook his head with a resigned smile. He understood Nora's behavior, because he had heard about Ariana's achievements too. The other people had the same feeling. None of them were surprised by Nora's behavior, except for Mitchell. He hadn't heard about Ariana's achievements, so he didn't think she was impressive. Although Nora said Ariana was a young achiever, Mitchell didn't think a girl her age could have many achievements. Therefore, in his eyes, Nora was simply trying to please Ariana because she was Henry's fiancé. They were all the Ortiz family's relatives, but there was a huge gap between the status of their families and the Ortiz family's immediate family. They supported the Ortiz family and also relied on their influence. If the Ortiz family lost one of their supporting families, they would be fine, but the collateral branches of the family would suffer a great loss if they were cut off. Therefore, Mitchell was jealous of Henry, but he didn't dare to cause Henry any trouble. A while later, Mateo and his family arrived. After greeting the elders, Mateo came to see Ariana and the others with Nina. Nina could have gone to see them alone, but Mateo had something to talk about with Ariana. When Mateo walked over, everyone greeted him. Sophia immediately pulled Nina over to catch up with her. "Ariana, can we talk privately? I need to talk to you about something," requested Mateo. Everyone turned to glance at Ariana, and then at Mateo. They were surprised to know that Mateo wanted to have a private talk with Ariana. invitation, Ariana wouldn't turn it down, because Mateo didn't know that she was the new leader of the Shadow Gang. Moreover, Ariana should still pay the Shadow Gang to carry out her orders, so she would only charge Mateo less than she normally would. "Thank you so much," Mateo replied, sounding relieved. "It's my pleasure," said Ariana. As a senior official, Mateo couldn't directly meet with members of the Shadow Gang, or he would be in trouble if his political opponents found out. Therefore, Ariana would pass the information from Mateo to the Shadow Gang. After having the private conversation, Mateo went back to the living room, and Ariana and Henry returned to the gazebo. Although the others were curious about their conversation, none of them asked about it. The birthday party was about to begin, and guests arrived one after another. Kara Mercer also came with her parents. She still had feelings for Henry, but she wouldn't bother him again. Although she was jealous of Ariana, she didn't hate her any longer. After she arrived, she saw Henry, Ariana, and the others, but she didn't go over. She felt sad whenever she saw the loving couple. Kara understood it would be unavoidable to see Henry and Ariana when she came to the party at the Ortiz family's house, but she still came with her parents. She still wanted to see Henry, even though she could only gaze at him from a distance, and they would barely talk to each other. Kara's parents were hurt when they saw their daughter so upset. Although they had always hoped that she could get together with Henry, they couldn't force him or blame him for not liking her. After all, Henry had never hurt Kara. It was Kara who couldn't forget him. Soon the birthday party began, with General Russell arriving just on time. After General Russell reached the Ortiz family's house, he saw Ariana for the first time. Because Ariana had superpowers, General Russell paid special attention to her, but it wasn't the right occasion for him to have a talk with her, so he said nothing. Ariana felt General Russell's eyes on her, but she didn't walk forward to exchange greetings with him. She only stood across the room and smiled at him politely. About 100 guests were present today, but the Ortiz family's living room was large enough to accommodate them. Although there weren't many seats, they could stand casually, and there was a buffet. Although most of the guests didn't eat much, they simply drank some wine and chatted with each other. They were all members of the Ortiz family's faction, so there wasn't conflict among them. They might just compete with one another slightly, but they weren't enemies. The guests differed in status, so people with a low status couldn't help being jealous of those with a high status. However, they didn't dare to cause trouble. After the birthday party began, the Ortiz family members presented their gifts and good wishes to Master Ortiz. Ava was the first one to do so, because she was the wife of his eldest son. The people in the room were all aware that she wasn't dead, but for many of them, this was their first time seeing her since she returned. When Ava stood up to give Master Ortiz the gift, he introduced her to everyone. "This is Christopher's wife. I know that you all should be aware of the accident that happened to my family years ago. My son Christopher and my daughter-in-law Ava were caught in an accident when they carried out a task several years ago." Bringing up the incident, Master Ortiz looked sad. He continued, "We always believed that the woman who fell from the cliff with Christopher was Ava, but we were wrong. We met Ava coincidentally last year, then learned that she didn't die. She was seriously injured in that accident, but luckily she was rescued by a kind man. After being treated, she survived, but her memories were lost. She didn't get her memories back until we met her and helped her to regain them." He didn't give any details, but it was necessary for him to tell the story briefly, or the guests might think that Ava had run away from the Ortiz family of her own accord. After hearing the story, everyone was amazed by Ava's experience. Carlos and his wife also presented their gifts and good wishes to Master Ortiz. Marco and his wife followed after. A while later, it was Master Ortiz's grandchildren's turn, so Henry and Ariana went first. Ariana wasn't married to Henry yet, but she was already accepted by the Ortiz family. As the future granddaughter-in-law, she ought to present a gift together with Henry. Many guests at the party had heard that Henry had a fiancé, but they didn't know who it was until they saw Ariana today. Not many people were aware of Ariana's background, so Master Ortiz also introduced her when she and Henry gave him their gift. "Please let me introduce you. This is my eldest grandson's fiancé, Ariana Young. She's a very outstanding young woman who started up a company at such a young age. Within a short time, distinguished friend Harold Flores, and the daughter of the chairman of the Flores Group. Master Ortiz continued. Hearing that, everyone was surprised again. Those were impressive connections after all. Many of them wondered, would Ariana get help from the Flores family to build a successful company so quickly? However, some other people realized something else. If Ariana was a member of the Flores family, why wasn't her surname Flores? Was she Eve's illegitimate daughter? At any rate, everyone trusted Master Ortiz not to lie, so it must be true. They originally thought it was unbelievable that the Shuttler organization could develop so fast, and that its founder was a young girl. But now they were convinced that the company had relied on the Flores family to become so successful. Therefore, many people doubted Ariana's abilities, but for the sake of Master Ortiz's pride, they didn't say it aloud. Master Ortiz understood that the guest might doubt Ariana's abilities after he said that, but it was true that she was a member of the Flores family. It wasn't a secret, but not many people knew it. Afterwards, Master Ortiz clarified, I know you might think the Shuttler organization's development has a lot to do with the Flores family, but I can be honest with you. Ariana has completely relied on her own abilities to help her company become so successful. Connections are very important for someone to run a business, but Ariana accumulated her connections by herself. Without real abilities, no one can build a company well. Every guest here has a successful career, so you should know support isn't enough. Nobody will support you if you don't have skills. After that, everyone realized that Ariana was much better than they thought, and they stopped doubting her abilities. It was true that they all had successful careers, so they should know the rules better than other people. Although many people became successful by riding on other people's coattails, those people would lose their success quickly. Whether in business or in politics, one's abilities mattered the most. Ariana couldn't be incompetent if she could lead her company to such great success. At this moment, Eve stood up and added, You just heard that Ariana is my daughter, and that is true. However, her surname is Young instead of Flores. Before she was born, I had an accident and was separated from her mother, so she was given the same surname as her mother. We didn't meet again until last year. By then, Ariana had already built up several companies. She just hadn't merged them into the Shuttler organization yet. The Flores family really hasn't supported the Shuttler organization. On the contrary, I fell into a coma after a car accident, and someone tried to steal my position. Fortunately, Ariana helped me get rid of the culprit and stopped the Flores family from losing our wealth. In addition, I bet you have read news about her on the internet, so you should know that she isn't weak at all. Eve didn't want other people to doubt Ariana's abilities, because it was unfair to her. The Flores family wasn't involved in the development of the Shuttler organization, and they wouldn't steal the credit from Ariana. After hearing Eve's explanation, the people there finally believed that Ariana was a talented businesswoman. Now they wanted to find out more about her on the internet, but they were at Master Ortiz's birthday party. It wasn't appropriate for them to take out their phones right now. After that, they stopped talking about Ariana, but they changed their attitude towards her. Then, the rest of Master Ortiz's grandchildren presented their gifts, starting with Kenny. After the Ortiz family's relatives finished giving their presents, it was the guest's turn. The majority of the guests were officials, so they didn't buy expensive gifts, but they still showed their sincerity. Officials weren't rich unless their families owned a business. If they were able to afford a very expensive gift, other people might think they had accepted bribery. After giving the gifts and good wishes, the guests continued to walk around and enjoy themselves. Due to General Russell's special status, he couldn't stay for long, so he excused himself after giving his present to Master Ortiz. When he walked out, Ariana's gaze fell on him, and she had a premonition that something bad was going to happen to him. However, the details weren't clear. Henry noticed her serious expression, so he asked, "What's wrong?" "I think General Russell is in danger. I'm going to escort him home," offered Ariana. Since she noticed that the general was in trouble, she had to do something. "Leave it to me," insisted Henry. He wasn't worried about Ariana's abilities at all, but he didn't want to burden her. "It's fine. It's your grandpa's birthday party. As the eldest grandson, you shouldn't be absent. Just let me deal with it. It won't be difficult," said Ariana. Henry was persuaded by Ariana, but he still reminded her, "Well, just be careful. Call me if you need help." Even though he believed Ariana would be fine, he still needed to remind her to be careful. I know. No need to worry about me, Ariana nodded, then followed General Russell outside. Because it was still early, the other guests hadn't left yet, and there was no one outside, except for General Russell and his bodyguards. After Ariana walked out the door, she called out, "General Russell, wait a second." General Russell stopped when he heard her voice. He turned around and smiled at Ariana kindly. "What can I do for you, Miss Young?" he asked. "General Russell, can we talk privately?" Ariana requested. There were 2 bodyguards next to the general, but Ariana couldn't let them hear their conversation, so she needed him to walk to the side with her. "Sure," General Russell agreed. Then he told his 2 bodyguards to wait for him, and he walked to the side with Ariana. When there was no one around them, Ariana said in a low voice, "General, I just had a strange feeling, and I'm worried that you might encounter some trouble on your way back home. If you don't mind, I can accompany you back. I'll leave after I make sure you're safe." Although the 2 bodyguards by General Russell's side were top level and could defeat professional killers, Ariana was afraid that he might encounter strange creatures that weren't human. General Russell was surprised. However, because he knew Ariana had superpowers, he didn't doubt her words. "Of course, thank you so much, Miss Young," he agreed. He didn't think Ariana would harm him. After that, Ariana followed General Russell and got into his car. There were 5 seats in his car. He came with 3 people, his 2 bodyguards and a chauffeur. The chauffeur was no weaker than the 2 bodyguards, and he was extremely good at driving. He was as skilled as a race car driver. Ariana sat in the back seat, on one side of General Russell. The bodyguard sat on the other side of him. General Russell's bodyguards didn't know why Ariana was going with them, but they didn't ask. It must be for a reason. There was a long distance between the Ortiz family's house and luxury garden, so the drive would take a while. Once they were out of the Ortiz family's property, Ariana used her jade eyes to observe the surroundings. General Russell also stayed alert. Even though he knew he wouldn't be hurt with Ariana's protection, he couldn't relax and leave everything to her. As they drove, they passed a large piece of remote land without any buildings. Right when they reached this part of the road, Ariana sensed 2 evil people, who she figured must be the ones targeting General Russell. However, they weren't evil immortals, nor monsters or ghosts. Rather, they were ninjas. Ariana immediately turned to look at the 2 ninjas. She saw 2 men in black clothes and black masks who were squatting in the grass not far from them, looking in their direction. It seemed that they planned to jump out as soon as General Russell's car approached. "Please tell the chauffeur to stop," Ariana said to General Russell. She didn't directly ask the chauffeur to stop, because if she did, he wouldn't listen. He only obeyed General Russell's orders. "Stop the car," General Russell ordered the chauffeur at once. Then he turned to ask Ariana, "What did you find?"